Defensive keys revisited, Brian. Let's just jump right into this thing and what Notre Dame was able to do defensively against Army. Army was in the bag early, trying to figure out some way to move this football against Notre Dame, and it just wasn't working. Outside of the one drive that was very much aided by penalties, Army just couldn't figure out what to do against Notre Dame's defense, and Notre Dame was just dominant. But let's just jump right into this thing. So the first defensive key to victory was dominate up the middle. And we talk about this a lot when we're talking about triple option. You got to take away the fullback first. And the fullback was an absolute non-factor in this game.
And honestly, so was Bryson Daly.
Up the middle, yes, absolutely agreed.
Period. I know he has like a lot of the yards, right? But how many of those came after they'd put the backups in the game? I'm looking at that last drive of the game, Vince, when they got that long touchdown run, and he's going against the backup defense at that point in time.
Yep.
He had 4, 6, 9 minus 6, so that'd be 3, 1, 3, 15. Oh no, that's Angel. I'm in the wrong quarter. Let's go to the fourth quarter here, Vince, and actually do this right.
I was doing math in my head. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do this.
I'm like, man, that was pretty more dominant than I remember it being. Okay, so here we go. So they had run. Here we go. So fourth quarter, you had Bryson Daly runs for 5. 6. He has a total of 6. Then he has 5. That's 11. Then let's see. That's still against first team defense. Okay, so then that's forced it, and then Notre Dame scores. Here's the back. Here we're finally here, Vince. Okay, 2-yard gain, 8-yard gain. That's 10. 2-yard gain. That's 12. 15-yard gain. That's 27. 2 runs for 7. That's 34. Let's see, minus that. Let's go to 27 and see the 6, 33. He goes another gain of 10 yards, 43. Another 1-yard gain, 44. Up the middle for 6. That's 50. Gain of 1, gain of 2. That's 53. And then he had the run for 54. He had 54 yards of his 139 yards were on one drive against the backup defense. So that's pretty dominant. And the thing is, Vince, is why was it important in this particular game? It's because that was their bread and butter. They are a run it right downhill team.
Usually with him.
Yes. And then the fullback who had over 800 yards coming into the game. And if you don't dominate up the middle, they're going to go off on you. And they dominate up the middle. And it was obviously starts with Riley Mills. He was phenomenal in this game. I thought Donovan Hines was outstanding this game. And not only was he good at the point of attack, Vince, but he had some really good pursuit plays. There was a couple times that I thought a linebacker made a tackle.
And it was him. Like,
it was him.
by the sideline.
Yeah, in pursuit.
Yes.
I'm like, was that? And I was like, that must have been Burnham. Like, hold on, Burnham looks a little different than that. I was like, couldn't have been Burnham. Who was that? Was that Kaiser? Was that Drake? No, I couldn't. And then you go back and you watch, and like, that was freaking Heinisch making sticks at the sideline for like a yard gain. And you're like, that kid his motor just runs, and he's just an athletic kid. And boy, I got to tell you, he was really good in this game, really good. And you guys want to know why I think Pro Football Focus is a joke? Pro Football Focus ranked this as Notre Dame's 3rd worst defensive performance of the season.
What?
Yep. The only games that were worse were Navy and Northern Illinois. First of all, Navy, they considered the Notre Dame's worst performance of the season. I'm like, what game were you watching?
Seriously.
You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, whatever. This is why you guys.
Did they just not give any credence for the fact because they're a group of 5 team, basically?
I don't know what they were thinking, dude. To be honest with you,
whatever metric that you want to use, I know I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but no matter what metric you want to use, look at what Army averages, a game, and look what Notre Dame did to them. Like how. Like, come on now.
I got you. This was their second best pass rushing game of the season as well. And it was their third worst pass coverage game of the season.
You guys hold on a second.
So bad. Yeah, I know.
Army threw the ball 9 times. 9 times. And they were 4 of 9 for 44%. How is that the worst pass defensive game of the year?
I get it. Trust me.
Sorry,
They threw for 26 yards.
right.
It was coverage, not pass defense, but coverage.
Oh my
Which again,
gosh,
that was a
that's awful.
bad one too.
That's awful.
But it started up the middle with those guys. They were great. I actually thought the young D tackles came in and did relatively well. Also, I thought Mukum was solid. I thought Sevillano was solid. But it also involves the linebackers. And I thought Jack Kaiser had a good game against the run. Drake was awesome in this game. Like even better when you rewatch it, Vince, because he was doing so much of the forcing the ball somewhere else. So he didn't have a lot of tackles on the ball because he was blown. Like the one pitch that Bryson Daly like almost threw into the ground.
Yes.
It's because he got drilled by
You're
Drake.
right. Oh, he got drilled so many times.
I
will give Daly some credit for the fact that he was able to get rid of the ball as quickly as he did.
He's a tank.
And taking the abuse that he took, because one of the things we talked about this week was, man, you got to make the hits on him count, right? Because he is their offense. They go as he goes, and you've got to make, like, we're not advocating like putting bounties or anything like that, but you look, when you arrive at the ball carrier, make it count, right?
Yeah.
And they did. He got hit a lot, and he got hit violently a lot. And he is a tank, but I also give him a ton of credit for recognizing that he was about to get smoked and getting rid of the football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and they didn't really turn it over.
Then, Vince, I even think Drake got on him faster than he thought he was going to get to him.
I agree.
I think he thought, okay, I got to quick pitch this, but then all of a sudden Drake's drilling him. First play of the game, I thought Drake and Jaden Osbury set the tone for how this game was going to go the first play of the game.
Yeah.
And Drake comes in and just blows the fullback up and then gets right in his face and is like, I don't know what he said to him, but I just, in my head, it was kind of like, this is going to be a long day for you.
I'm going to be here all day.
This is going to be a real long day for you. You're not doing jack today. And then Jaden just coming down and making a play on a quarterback. I think he came from the backside. It was ridiculous. But they just set the tone on the first play. It just was like, guys, this is not going to be a good day for you. Mm-hmm. And like the play he made on the where he almost got a safety, he was coming, Vince, he stunted backside. He came from the back. It wasn't like he shot through the A gap and peeled. He came backside and made that play. I just thought he was so physical at the point of attack. His pursuit was really good. Jaden Osbury was just dynamic in this game. There was a play where he was lined up at corner and covered a dude because they'd put a running back outside. And so he went outside and was covering a guy. And then the corner was actually on the line of scrimmage, which they did a few times. And it just like, I was like, is that Jordan Clark? Like, no, that guy's too big to be Jordan Clark. But you're just like watching, like, that's a freaking linebacker flipping his hips and covering that guy. It was ridiculous.
Those guys are, yeah.
But like, I just thought they absolutely dominated right up the middle, man. And Drake was a big part of that. The D tackles were a big part of that. And they used the defensive ends to crash as well and kind of just force things back inside. But yeah, this is definitely a plus for me, Vince.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, completely agree. Second defensive key is early down success. And we talked about this a bunch, and this is even more key against an option offense, against an offense like this, because they want to be in 3rd and short, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, because they'll go for it on 4th and 1 every time, right? So you want to have early down success so they're not looking at those 3rd and shorts. And I mean, success. I mean, it's success all day long. I mean, they had so many 3 and outs in this game because they were staring 3rd and long in the face all game long. They were 6 of 16 on 3rd down. 6 of 16. That's not Army football, right? And then they were 1 of 4 on 4th down. I mean, they turned them over on downs 3 times. So that all you can take a look at every single one of those 3rd downs, and you can take a look at every single one of those 4th downs, and you can trace it back to early down success, in my opinion. I know you're going to have numbers that I don't have, but in my brain, I'm looking up numbers to add context to what you just said, because you're spot on. So they had 5 possessions in the first half. Right.
And they went 3 and out on 4 of those 5 possessions, including
that's unbelievable.
3rd down. I think it was a 3rd down run where he fumbled the ball. I think it was a 3rd down run late in the half. No. So I don't even count that run. But they had 5 first half possessions. They went 3 and out on 4 of those 5. You guys don't understand. This is not a team that goes 3 and out.
Right. Exactly. Ever.
And so this is why first drive of the game, first down, +2. So now you're in 2nd and 8. They get 3 on 2nd down. Now you're in 3rd and 5. You get 3 on the next one, and now you're 4th and 2, and they're punting because they're just, they're too deep for that. But that put them behind. Next drive, first down, 1 yard. 2nd down, -3. Because the thing was early down success, 1st and 2nd down. And so then you're +1, -3. Then you get your touchdown drive on the next one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought a lot of that was penalty related. We've
Agreed.
talked about that.
Yep.
Your next drive, you get the ball back. You go 3 and out. First down, 0 yards. 2nd down, 5 yards. You're now in 3rd and 5. They complete a pass. That was a great play too, by the way. So that number 15, that Navy, Army, Army's a little dirty. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like there was some stuff going on that I was not like hurt you dirty, but just like trying to get in your head dirty. And this number 15 comes up behind, I think his name's Noah Short, and he comes up behind Christian Gray or Don Short from behind. He's like grabbing his jersey and doing something. And Don was pissed. He turns around and he kind of pushes him off of him, but then Don doesn't do anything else. And the guy's just kind of yapping as he runs back the huddle. Next play, they ran a slide route to that guy on 3rd down, and Don came up and lit him up. You know which one play? It was near the goal line when they were backed up. So if you go back and watch the all-22 of that, Vince, watch what that dude's doing from behind to Don before that play. And this is what I talked about. When a guy's doing something to you, don't retaliate, because now that's what he wants you to do.
Yep.
Get him back football-wise. And the Don did that twice to that kid. He laid that guy out twice within the framework of the game, and he lit that guy up. But so you get 0 yards on first down, and then your next drive on first down, you run the ball for -1. That was the play where they ran the reverse, and Burnham sniffed it out, forced the guy to bow. Burnham doesn't make the play, but Jaden and Gabriel Rubio are hustling down the line, and they get it for -1. So you want to know why they couldn't do a dang thing. And then, and the funny thing is the next first down, Vince, they gained 19 yards. That was actually the longest run of the game, and they forced the ball out.
Mm-hmm.
They caused a fumble.
Right. Fumble on the first play of the drive. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you look up the numbers, that 1st and 2nd down success rate is really bad for Army. And that's a big reason why this game was over at halftime, because I mean, plus dominated 1st and 2nd.
Because look, Army's not built for 3rd and long. They're not. They're just not built for 3rd and long. And they had a couple. I remember early on in the game, and I can't remember which drive it was, but they had like a 3rd and 20 or so. It was something ridiculous. They just handed it off to the fullback. It was like, it's almost like they're waving the white flag at that point. You know what I mean? Because they're not going to gain 20 yards with the fullback. And they were at a loss. They were at a loss because of the 1st and 2nd down success that Notre Dame had. And they're constantly in 3rd and long. And look, they're looking at their playbook. They're like, we got nothing. I mean, and that's when, they start going into their shotgun and stuff. And like, that's not who Army is. That's not who they want to be.
They had to go empty to try to get some. They had a couple plays here and there, but Notre Dame made real quick adjustments. And then,
that's just not who they are. Right. I mean, that's not who
when Army's guys are emptying the backfield, like literally emptying the backfield, you're like, yeah, they're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they'll do that every now and then, but like they were doing it a lot, because you're like, we got to find a way to get them out of the box, because these linebackers are killing us.
Correct.
And they're killing us because the defensive tackles are just not letting us get to the set. And Jeff Monken said after the game, by the way, we had criticized him for not taking Bryson Daly out. I still don't agree with his decision, but did you hear what he said about
I did
why?
not. No.
So first of all, I've said before, I think Jeff Monken's a really classy guy. And after listening to his post-game press conference, you're like, okay, yep, that's exactly who I thought he was.
I'm going to have to listen to it.
But he was just like, before he sits down and starts, before he sits down, he starts talking about what a great team. Talking about Notre Dame, just couldn't be more, effusive in his praise. And he said, like, look, guys, we couldn't, Vince, we've all been there as coaches. Every coach has been here, right?
Oh, yeah.
He says, we couldn't get off blocks and we couldn't sustain blocks. And he's like, and it really wasn't about anything we were doing or not doing. I mean, that's just basically saying, guys, there was nothing my kids could do different.
Right.
They just crushed us. There's nothing. Like, he's sitting there watching Riley Mills do what he's doing, and like, I don't know what to tell these guys. That guy's way better than anybody we have on the field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know what to tell them when Billy Shrouth is playing how he played yesterday. What do you tell those guys?
Right.
You know, I mean, it's like there's and he basically said with Bryce Nagels, like, listen, him and these other kids and the kids that were in the stands, they're all going to be commissioned officers. We teach these young men to fight until the end. Like basically saying like beyond football.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, I get it, but I'm also like, but this is football, not war. And you get that kid hurt, you got bigger. I mean, look, sometimes, we're talking military history. Sometimes you retreat and live to fight another day, and you regroup and you go back and go on the attack, the next whatever. I mean, just study American history. I mean, we lost a few battles before we won the war in the Revolutionary War, right? And we lost some battles in World War I and World War II, and and those type of things. But I get where he's coming from, but I still didn't like the decision. But you could understand what he was saying. Like, look, we're teaching these kids, and we're teaching these kids, we're going to fight until it's over.
Right.
And I get it. I still don't agree with it.
Yeah, I get that as well. But the thing is, this wasn't the last game of the season for them.
Right.
Like, they still have all of their goals in front of them. I mean, sure, I'm sure a goal was to beat Notre Dame, but their main goal is to beat Navy. And then their other goal is to win the conference. And they have both of those goals right in front of them.
Right.
And if Bryson Daly goes down, those goals probably go out the window, to be perfectly honest. And so that's my issue, because, of course, I'm looking at it from a football standpoint. And, yes, these guys need to learn lessons, and they're going to learn those lessons throughout their entire career at West Point. I mean, they are. I mean, I don't know that one game is going to either not teach them that lesson or, that kind of a thing.
So, Bryson, why did you keep retreating? Well, we were losing to Notre Dame one time, and Coach pulled me, so
I just figured quitters win, so it's all good. Like, no, that's not. I just don't see that being the case. Like you said, I understand where he's coming from, and I respect the heck out of everybody.
Maybe he's in the middle of a Civil War class, and he's studying the Northern generals, and they were really bad early on, and maybe he's, you got to reprogram. I don't know. Who knows, man? But yeah,
it's just I didn't agree with that. That's a tough excuse, but reason. But yeah, he coaches that team, and he's had a lot of success there. So who am I to judge? So I'm sure he's. I'm not going to question the way he coaches, but it would have been. I would have understood if Bryson Daly was on the sideline watching at that point.
You're going to have to listen to him explain it. You're going to be like me. I don't agree with this decision, but you can look in the man's eyes and be like, okay, there's something bigger. Jeff Monken's doing things that are more important than what a lot of other coaches are doing.
It's different coaching there than it is anywhere else outside of the service academies. It's different. And you're teaching different lessons, and you have different expectations for those guys. And they have different expectations when they walk into that building, right? What was the one was it the Ohio State guy that was like, I didn't come here to play school. I came here to play football.
Cardell.
Yeah, nobody's going to Army or Navy or Air Force to play. I mean, they aren't going to play football, but they're there for a bigger reason.
It's not the primary reason.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Nor are you like, hey, I think they can best develop me for the NFL.
Right. Yeah. That's fair.
That doesn't mean that they might not have some guys that make the NFL, but that's not why.
Right.
It's not the primary reason you're going there.
Correct. So, all right. So, the third defensive key, which we're kind of touched on during this defensive key, but the third defensive key is drill the quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, the point was the entire game goes through him. More than any, I mean, even more than like Malcolm Perry, I mean, like Ricky Dobbs, it's driven through him so greatly. It's a very different version of that triple option that we saw, where Malcolm Perry was the driving force of that offense, but it was just different. And you had to hit him early, and you had to hit him hard because he is a tank, because he's a 6'1", 225-pound kid. Trevor said last week, he's more like a fullback than he is like a quarterback, as far as he runs. And you had to hit him early. Because my thing is, if you let this kid get downhill on you, he's going to make plays.
Yep.
You had to hit him, and you could never let him get going. And I mean, they did that tremendously well. I mean, this is a plus. They hit him early and often, whether he was running it. I mean, and there was even a play where he lowered his shoulder and kind of ran over Adon Schuler. And Adon took it and held onto his leg and brought him down in space. And you're just like, that kid's not used to that. That's you kids used to hitting people, and then they go down and they kind of land and kind of, bounce, and he's running past them for a big play. He's not used to, getting low on a guy, putting a guy on the ground, and then the guy's just won't let go and brings him down.
Right.
He's not used to the closing speed. There was a couple times you could see him trying to get outside, and he thinks he's going to get the corner. And he's like, holy crap. Like, okay, I got to try to cut. And then he cuts, and it's just swarmed him.
And there was a lot of Army ball carriers that experienced that.
Yeah.
That I guarantee you that was a conversation on the bus ride home. Did you see how fast they got on us? You know what I mean? And I mentioned it in the post game because as watching it as a fan, and you're watching it from like the blimp view, right? And you're watching this thing happen, and you see a guy head for the outside. You're like, oh, Notre Dame might be out leveraged here. Yeah. They might get the corner, and then all of a sudden it's like, I mean, just 2 to 3 defenders just coming downhill and meeting those ball carriers at the line of scrimmage. Yeah. And it's either a loss, a no gain, or like a 1-yard gain. And that happened more often than not.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And to your point, happened to Bryson Daly an awful lot. Yeah. And it was a lot of, when you talk about drilling the quarterback, it was not a lot of solo tackles.
Right.
It was a lot of gang tackles. Yeah. And he was taking hits from multiple angles at the same time. That kid's going to live in an ice bath today. I mean, I just don't see how it's possible that he's not, to be honest with you. And he got up. He popped up after every single one, to his credit.
Yeah.
But, man, he ran that ball 30.
I mean, he had blood coming down from his nose.
Oh, my God.
That kid was bleeding all. I mean, he just, DK actually represented what he said very well. He said they have all the cadets in the stands, and they had thousands at home on TV, and you never walk away from a battle until it's over. And a lot of us use military terms or stories or whatever for football, because I think there's a lot of care, but these kids literally are preparing to go fight in a battle. I mean, so again, when you listen to them say it, Ben, you're gonna be like, dude, I totally understand that. I totally respect that. I still disagree.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. And look, he's, like I said, he's building men to go off on do different things.
Way different things.
You know what I mean? Like way different things. And he's all part of that education for those guys. Like the coaches over at West Point and all the service academies, they're teaching more than sport. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. And I think that's that's freaking awesome. So, all right. Let's see. The final defensive key to victory. The final defensive key to victory. I'll get it out eventually. Was be disciplined. Be disciplined. And that can, equal a multitude of things, penalties and, keeping your cool at times and, all of those different things. And, I mean, there were a few too many penalties, especially on the one drive specifically. But other than that, I think that this team was pretty. I'd give it a check personally. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I give them a plus. And yes, you had a couple of the penalties. You're going to have a couple. To me, there's only 2 penalties that I thought were valid penalties.
Yeah,
it was the offsides by Jalen Sneed. Valid meaning it was the right call.
Oh, yeah, when he jumped. Yeah.
Right. And then you had the hands to the face by Riley Mills. I mean, with all due respect, when you rip a guy's helmet off, that's usually your hands are a little close to the face, right?
Absolutely. Can't argue that one. I mean,
this is why you guys come for this like rocket science type of analysis. Usually when you put a guy, you throw his helmet off.
As soon as I saw that guy's helmet on the ground, I was like, that's
like good. When I saw the helmet going and I saw a flag, I was like, I know what that one's for.
Yeah.
But just overall, the discipline was so good in this game. It's just from little things like Christian Gray on the play early in the game, first play of the second drive where he blows it up. But it wasn't just that he beat the guy. That was a great play, but he beat him outside. You can't get beat. You cannot go inside on that play. It actually might have been a little easier for Christian to go inside on that particular play, but you can't. You got to win outside because you are the leverage guy. You're the support guy. You got to force everything back inside. Ideally, you force inside and make the tackle, and he did that. You talk about just great open field tackling. You talk about, Marcus Freeman talked about this after the game, and he said none of the mistakes were from bad run fits. Or actually, Jeff Monken said this about his team on defense, and he talked about how his defense, the issues he was having on his defense weren't like bad run fits, and it was just they were dominant.
Mhm.
And when you look at the Notre Dame defense, it's like, dude, there was never that. Like, Vince, you and I have talked. How many times have we done post game shows for these triple option teams, or been in the press box together for what? Then there's always like 2-3 times a game where they're going to give up a fullback trap or a fullback dive, and it just kind of goes for 15 or 20, and it's just going to happen because you had some sort of misfit. It just happens. It's part of. You can't avoid that. I used to always think you can't avoid that when playing an option team. Well,
Well,
they dominated the fullback in both games.
Yeah.
Against Navy and Army.
Yeah.
And that requires dominance from a physical standpoint, Vince, but it also requires dominance from an execution and assignment correctness standpoint. And that's where, I mean, this is a plus. I mean, your cornerbacks were in the right place. Even as simple as like they would run a play action pass trying to catch Notre Dame, and both guys are double covered. The kind of route recognition, like it's hard to do route recognition against a team like this because
a
lot of it's built off of the crack looks and the offense.
And you get lulled. You kind of get lulled to sleep as a defender, just defending the run, coming downhill, watching the backfield action, that kind of stuff. And then they slip somebody behind you, and that's how they get a big play. I've seen it a billion times at the high school level. We've seen it at the college level. Never happened.
I mean, they ran a play like, the reverse that Josh Burnham sniffs out, and then Jaden Alsbury, I think was it Alsbury that makes the tackle, and it was Alsbury and Rubio. You talk about the quarterback counter plays. There was one where Kingston was still in the game, I believe, and he just stays backside and just goes and rips it up. And I remember, Kingston having that really bad misread against Louisville that resulted in the read zone where the quarterback pulls it and runs it for a bunch of yards. And you see that from this game before he got hurt. And he got hurt, and then he came out. But like Jaden Alsbury, Jalen Sneed.
Right.
Jalen Sneed's always what?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out. Junior Tuihalamaka, when he went with the quarterback, when they were trying to do the throwback to the quarterback down the sideline. I mean, that's a defensive end running with the quarterback. And he just stood there. They ran a quarterback
right. Wasn't it off a toss? And then the quarterback wheels out, and they're going to throw it back to the quarterback. And to your point, the defensive end sees it, reads it, and just runs with it.
Right.
I mean, it's like I had somebody say, like, why didn't you think Army did some of their trick stuff? And I was like, they did. It just didn't look like it because Notre Dame ate it up so much.
Right.
And that's a great one, Vince. And I to point out also, but just the level of assignment correctness that requires smart players, but also great preparation from a coaching staff and game plan standpoint. And I mean, the level of excellence we saw from this team from a discipline standpoint is as good as you're going to see.
Agreed.
Against an offense like Army's. Because it's not an easy offense to be disciplined for. It really isn't.
Right.
And they handled it flawlessly.
It's always my biggest fear, to be perfectly honest with you, when going up against this kind of an offense, whether I was coaching it or whether I'm a fan, that kind of a thing. Like going up against this offense, you can stymie them for 10 straight plays, 11 straight plays, and then it just takes one where you've got one guy that is not disciplined. He's trying to either, make up for what he thinks his buddy is supposed to be doing, or his eyes get stuck in the backfield with kind of the action that's happening back there. And they sneak a guy out and it just goes over the top. And those are absolute backbreakers in a game. Those are absolute backbreakers. And, whether it's, a counter or the pass over the top or whatever, if you're not a disciplined defense and it only takes one guy to not be disciplined, the whole thing falls apart. And that didn't happen on this day. Like not even for a big gain. I mean, the three biggest gains they had were all by the quarterback on keepers. Every single one. It was never the fullback. It was never a counter. It was, wasn't any of that kind of stuff. They had zero big passing plays. I mean, 26 yards total.
And the one long run he had against the first team defense, they forced the ball out and forced him to fumble.
Right.
And part of the reason he got that run off is because Notre Dame was playing off because it was less than a minute left and they were kind of giving up that kind of run. That's the other thing about that play. So it was, and Vince, you mentioned there's just a play, but we've seen games where the Army or Navy would make an adjustment. 2 years ago. Yeah. Where they're eating Navy up in the first half, just eating them up. That's like just dominating. And then they made a couple little adjustments. And then the second half, Notre Dame had no answers, just could not stop them. And to see, and man, Al Golden is writing a book on how to defend the triple option.
You're not kidding.
And part of it's like, hey, recruit guys like we have, and teams like, yeah, we're good. We'll figure something else out because we don't have Drake Bowen and
look,
and
and that's
Riley
part
Leonard
of
and
it.
Leonard Mills and Christian Gray and Xavier
Right.
Watson and Don Schuler and Jaden Osbury. Yeah, exactly.
Look, that's absolutely part of it.
Yeah.
And we would be remiss if we didn't say, look, Al Golden is a genius when it comes to X's and O's. I mean, he's doing a great job. His game plan against these triple option teams is really, really good.
Yeah.
But it also helps that you've got these guys running your game plan. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, it just does. Because like we said, in the post game show, like these linebackers, he wasn't sending them on stunts. He wasn't doing anything exotic. They knew their keys. They knew what their responsibilities were, and they flew to the football. They flew to the football.
Yep.
So, yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, Pro Football Focus had this as Riley Mills' worst game of the year.
You're just trying to get me riled up.
I
man.
am.
I
am. They suck so bad. Like they had Leonard Moore as the third lowest graded guy on the defense. Like it just so much of this was just stupid.
Wow.
That was hilarious.
Like, do they just look at stats?
I don't think they know how. Well, they break down every play.
Okay.
I don't think they know how to grade an option team. They had this as Drake Bowen's fourth worst game of the year. Navy was his second worst game of the year. Yeah, it was hilarious. Looking at some of these numbers, and you're just like, you guys watched a different game than I did.
Yeah,
you definitely watched a different game than I did. They had this as Leonard Moore's worst game of the season. It was hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
Okay,
yeah. I thought you'd get a kick out of that, Vince. I was like, okay, I gotta share this one with Vince.
Yeah,
because you're being disciplined, but I don't know if the boys over at Pro Football Focus are being disciplined. I'll put it like this: only Jaden, their best defensive grade would have been second best on Notre Dame's defense. Like, so the guy that graded out the highest for Army, he would have been the second highest graded Notre Dame player.
Really?
Yeah.
Notre Dame did whatever they wanted against Army's defense.
That's right.
How could anybody be graded
That's
high
right.
for that? I mean,
and Riley Mills by far his worst game of the season.
That is mind blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that like Army and Notre Dame have similar colors. Maybe they got some guys confused at times.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts? Any final takeaways on the defense before we move on to the next section, Brian?
Just dominance, dude.
It really was.
Yeah, just really dominance.
It is amazing. The only takeaway I have is, and it might sound silly to be perfectly honest with you, but every time I've watched this defense play, something athletically or speed-wise just jumps off the page or jumps off the screen, or when I'm in the press box, it's just like, oh my gosh, they're fast. And a lot of times it's those outside runs that teams keep attempting to do against Notre Dame to no avail. I'm not sure what film they're watching to think that that's going to be successful.
Yeah, there's two different types of outside run plays. One that teams have had success on is the out leveraged quick pitch.
Right.
Like Florida State did this. Very smart. You cannot run them, so you crack block and seal them inside, and then because Notre Dame plays man, that corner is going to squeeze down, and then you can get the corner. But these teams that run that stuff where it's like there's no perimeter blocking, it's just let's outrun them to the sideline.
That's not going to work.
I mean, I could have forgiven A&M and for trying to get away with that, but after the first couple games, you're like, yeah, that's not going to work.
And I think at this point that this defense has played together long enough, and I don't know that any team is going to be able to get outside on them on a regular basis. Yeah. Right, there may be an anomaly play. You got to scheme your way
into it in ways where you eliminate the speed aspect of it, and that's what Florida State did. Louisville did a nice job of that. Who was the team they played? Virginia had a couple plays like that last week where they basically just kind of crack down and seal inside. Again, knowing that Notre Dame's going to play man, that corner is going to squeeze down with the inside release, and you get outside. That's being smart because it's not a speed game now,
right?
And you just would think more teams would figure that out.
But no. All right. Well, that is going to do it for our defensive keys to go ahead.
Go.
Okay. Defensive keys to victory revisited. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends. And of course, jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com. Don't go anywhere. We've got more coming your way. But again, make sure you jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com.